facts from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel it's a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your Watchlist coming in April 15th, 2021, and the stock market is going to bounce tomorrow. And I got 3 stacks that I'm looking at coming into the end of the week. But today was the long-awaited Coinbase IPO, and well, it was very disappointing, very surprising, but it is definitely going to be a play over the next few weeks. And we ended up getting a big trade today because I averaged down, did the reverse pyramid, and we are right below break even, surprisingly. So we have a lot to talk about, but the market was also crazy too. We finally got our first red day, breaking that 13th-day consecutive streak on the S&P. The market has never done that before, so that was very important. But a lot of the earnings mode and what we saw from the banks, you're seeing it today, and why I think the market is going to bounce tomorrow. You are still going to get a lot of earnings from a lot of different industries, and how that plays out, and then the guidance, that is going to be key, so I hope you're ready. But we got a lot to talk about. I want to go over what happened in the market today, what we're looking at tomorrow, the plays that we made today. I even added plays besides Coinbase, and then the plays that we're looking at for the rest of the week. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch us come to life. And yes, if you or anybody you know has been a victim of CoinVid21, the Coinbase IPO, you could contact us, Trading Fraternity, youtube.com/the-stock-market, and we are the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So right off the bat, like I said, today started off very, very good. You had the big bank earnings, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. They said that they're lowering their loss provisions. Things were looking good. Even Wells Fargo had positive news and they went up. They were actually expected to do a little bit worse. So things were actually pretty good. You saw the general siphoning off from the market as we got ready for the IPO and things happened. There's also even the European close if you want to keep that in mind, but bonds have been chilled out. But overall, today was actually pretty decent. And then you want to put it up where we were. We gapped up a little bit. The sell-off here coming in pre-market, then the market opens. The market took it very well. A lot of the banks bounced. We were even green. The only thing down was NASDAQ, and that's where I mean it was kind of selling off some gains. People were getting ready for the IPO. A lot of even the Bitcoin stocks, except for Overstock, were down. A lot of people were even running up Overstock later into the day when it happened. But you saw Mara and Riot and some of those other ones, they were really, really down. Maybe that was a sign or something, but overall, everything was looking good. Then eventually, right when Coinbase broke one of those big lows, I believe it was right here, or right when they dropped below that 380, then the market started to really react. Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies dropped, even though Ethereum's up after hours. But this is what made it so surprising, and I think that's kind of what highlights this point. This was one of the worst initial debuts for a company that I've seen in a while. Even if you wanted to compare this to a bad IPO, you were going to look back a couple years, at least 5-10 years almost, because this was a very poor performance. The fact that it was hyped up so much, came up at such a price, but then broke through so many various levels, and it still did not turn the entire float. That is just surprising. But do I think the company's bad? Do I think it's really going to end up like that? No, and I actually like this situation, and we'll go over the plays that we made, but overall, it surprised a lot of people, and I think the fact that it started responding with the S&P 500, I think that shows you a couple of things. Again, this was just a big response. Now, if you guys were watching live, you probably saw there was a lot of other Fed news that came out at the same time. The Fed beige book came out. People were saying that was because of the drop. There were some other news pieces that came out, but even more surprising, Powell was on throughout the day and we weren't even listening to him. That's how important this was. And even though we've had inflation data and all of that, he didn't even say anything new. So I really think a lot of this kind of has to do with people selling off and then not expecting this to sell off. So had a pretty interesting dynamic, but all eyes were on Coinbase today, and that was the key. Now, bringing this into tomorrow morning, you're going to get Bank of America, Rite Aid, Taiwan Semiconductors, Delta Airlines, and United Health. Are those companies big? Are they they going to make big moves? They might, and we'll see what happens, but those are all various different industries. So that's why I'm saying tomorrow is going to be key, because the market's either going to respond to their earnings. If they're negative, it'll have time to digest and then maybe bounce, or if those are good earnings, they come out with good guidance, that might be able to calm some of these pressures here. And we really need to talk about this coming into this earnings, but the fact that you're going to get a lot of these different industries, this is going to set up a lot of this market widening. Yesterday, we saw tech lead. Today, we saw tech behind in the Dow lead. So watch these specific industries and any sympathies related to earnings, because like I'm saying, based on how they report and after what we see tomorrow, the real focus by Thursday, Friday, it's going to be looking ahead for these other earnings, and then the whole Netflix and Friends. You're going to get some of these bigger companies, I believe even Snapchat, and then the market is going to start positioning. So even if the market wants to move big, like I said, it's usually going to wait until earnings unless there is something really, really big that happens. Even though Coinbase was really hyped and didn't perform that well, that wasn't really a negative event, or at least not enough. It didn't even disturb the bond market. So that being said, tomorrow is probably going to be a lot of Coinbase, but then all of these industries, the earnings continuations, a primary focus on the banks with how they reported, but there's just a lot of things to focus on, even some of the negatives, the bonds, the dollar, all of this stuff we've been talking about, but a lot of it is already priced in. The only thing that is not priced in, and this is going to be the main focus for this week, next week, and all of these earnings, it is going to be guidance. That is the only thing not priced in. So as these companies guide up or down, that is going to be the key, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the market respond off of that. So don't get too jumpy, don't get too fearful, and I hope you're in the game, and I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different plays that I'm looking at. And of course, we have to look at Coinbase. I'm going to go over how I played that. And you really got to see what happened. I did not follow the criteria. The criteria worked. You're going to be dumb. You got to be tough. So even though I'm almost at break even, I ended up taking on a way bigger position, and I'm totally comfortable with that. But again, you saw the criteria go to work. It just didn't have the supply demand there. It looked like it off the couple of candles. It struggled, and then it was looking really good, but then out of nowhere, it just kept breaking every single level. But at the end of the day, I'm seeing this as a really, really good swing trade, and why I like it is the same reason why a lot of people don't like it. The key that we have to look at is quite simply, this has now created a $100 range from top to bottom. So a lot of people were fighting over here. You know, if you remember that first set of shares we got, I'll go over the trades, but we started with 10, did the reverse pyramid. Every order after that would be higher or the same. So we were down a lot, but since the position was small, you were able to kind of bear it, but then it started breaking through every level, which was very, very surprising. But you were only getting like 5 to 7% up here. Even at the downside, we only down 5%. But now the fact that this is widened out this much, going to offer the opportunity for this thing to move a lot. So that's why I'm saying in the next coming weeks, or even the next coming days, this is going to be a fun one to watch. So I really like that. But as far as the trades that I made, you could see how it went down, and we could try to compare it here with the time. I believe it opened at 10:25. So we got the first trade within 3 minutes. I said, okay, it was doing like 15 million in volume. I said at that pace, if it could keep going up, and then some of the later candles were getting more volume, the price was looking good. It broke 380 to 400. Things were looking pretty decent. The number we were looking for it to turn was about 55-60 million in that first 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, it just really, really slowed down. So you could see the volume here. And then after that, it really started coming down. The high was like 429, I believe. And then it came down from there. So then you could see we waited about 45 minutes. 11:12 was the time. And then I went and I grabbed 20 more. So as you're seeing, as the price drops lower, I grabbed the first 10 at 404. It drops below that opening. And I was like, all right, something has to happen here. So I grabbed 20 more shares at 368. 11:12 would put us like right here. That's why I was like, okay, this seemed to be a pretty good bounce. I was surprised. I was like, if it goes even to that 350, I didn't even really think it could break 350. That was the first reference point it got after saying 250. So I was like, I don't know about that. And that's why there was so much carnage below there, because I don't think a lot of people expected that. But that was our second purchase. And then this is where it gets really interesting. Another hour goes by. This thing is in the trenches now. Almost, I think it hit like 310 at the low. It was bouncing up a little. The first rally, the Chad kept donating, and we we were like, all right. I was like, I'll put those donations towards one more share. I grabbed one share, but at this point, my average between these two plays was 380, and one share at 326 brought my average down $1. So on a $10,000 position, one share at 326 brought the average down so big. And I was like, wow, it was a pretty good deal. I was like, well, I could average down a little bit more. The reverse pyramid, if it does bounce from here, I will take more risk if it drops, but it seems like this could have protected me a lot. I was fine both ways. I flipped the coin gave the blessing, so I went ahead and I bought 30 shares. I should have doubled it and maybe gone 40, but I wanted to be kind of considerate, so I'm walking away now with 61 shares, and then our total average on that is 354. We're only down 4%. We were just down like 1% right when I started this video, but now $1,000 loss even after not following the criteria and everything. If you follow the criteria, it actually hit around 329 was when you hit 50, 60 million in volume. So ironically, waiting for the criteria would have been better, but you're seeing how if you had the cash available and you don't panic and you weren't really trying to scalp this, again, I'm a swing trader. I'm more likely to hold this long term. I had the money and I like the company. So I said, okay, well, I could deal with it. That's why the final shares, I was like, either way is okay. But after day one, the damage is kind of mitigated. We will see what happens, if anything, moving forward. Since I got a pretty decent position here, the idea would be now get some free shares on the way up. We'll see how it plays out. But I think you're going to start seeing some wild swings in the next coming days, unless it kind of gets muted the next 2 days and then takes off by Monday, but we will see. But that is going to be the first play. As far as the second play, it's related to Coinbase, PSFE, PaySafe. So a lot of you guys brought this up, and why I liked it, it was one of the Coinbase related plays that was more payment processing, exchange related, kind of like Overstock. But if you saw this morning, every single exchange, Bitcoin, Coinbase related stock, they were all down a lot, and the only one that was up was Overstock as well as PaySafe. I think some of you mentioned there was other stocks. We may have missed them. Please post them below in the chat, and then I can read them in the morning and we'll see. But a lot of people were pointing these out. You guys even pointed PaySafe, so I said, hey, I like the fact that it's holding up in the midst of this. That's kind of showing where the market is positioning for the IPO. So I did get a little greedy, and surprisingly, those contracts didn't even really go down that much. And like I said, these aren't like scalps. These aren't quick flips. That's not what we were trying to do on it. This was just a normal swing trade, playing it with the same logic as Overstock. So I grabbed 5 of the July 20 calls, or we got filled right here, and I got them at 55 cents. Contract closed at 42 to 45, but it held up most of the time. So I'm still in that. That's me getting a little bit greedy, but this one is a SPAC. That's why I didn't like it as much. So we'll see how that one plays out. Or I think this one is de-SPACed. Excuse me. The other one, FTCV, the eToro, that one was still in SPAC mode. So we got to figure out how that's going to work. But usually de-SPACing, there's kind of a negative connotation or negative market reaction. So I am worried about that, but got a little greedy with $250, $300, said we'll hold it, go from there. So that was the second play. And now as far as the final play I'm going to be looking at tomorrow, depending on how it trades, I might take it tomorrow, or we'll have to see, but it gave a really, really big hint today. It is getting into earnings mode. I think it just needs the market environment. Again, a lot of things got drawn down by the end of the day today, so I think that negatively weighed on it. But Snapchat, if you guys were watching it today, you probably noticed right off the morning, this thing gapped up like 3.5%. Put that on the daily. You can see that candle. It looks like it had a little bit of a run up, was stalling out, but that would have been a great getting ready for earnings. That comes next week. We see how Netflix, everything else reports. There might be a good setup there, so I am going to be watching that. I still have all my shares since, day one. You know what it is. But we will see what happens with that. Going to be holding with it, and I think that one was interesting today. But as far as everything else, I'm going to be watching Coin. Watch Credit Suisse. Some people were bringing up what happened with Viacom and all that, and maybe the Archegos situation has not gone away, and you don't even see a bounce in the stock with everything. So I will be watching them. If anything, they're getting fuel from positive banks, so keep that in mind. Watch Overstock. I didn't sell out anything. I'm still holding this. The fact that it barely closed red today, taking it as a good sign. You saw more carnage on Coinbase itself than Overstock, and what this move shows me is that the T0 brokerage, their side that they own, the value that it got from Coinbase, it already got that pump off of the IPO. Anything else was just premium, so it's kind of setting a baseline, or at the very least, we will find out by the end of this week. So I'm still holding every single play, but that doesn't mean that you have to. We talked about this a lot. You had several opportunities. Just be wise with it. If how I played Coinbase isn't a good example, if you don't have the same balance to be able to manage out in and out of certain positions, I could walk away with a 3% down by the end of the day. But if I got my first trade and only my first trade and didn't balance out anything or have any sort of management to kind of look ahead or go too crazy, I would have been down 20%, granted on a lot less money, and I could still lose a lot more. So just keep that in mind, be wise, but I'm still holding the Overstocks. Again, the PaySafe and then PPD, they got a buyout offer after hours or right before, and then it got got halted. Thermo Fisher offer, they had a huge candle and then they popped and locked. It's kind of weird to see them move after hours, but PPD got a buyout, I think $16 billion, but I think $44 is $16 billion. So sadly, there is no meat on the bone. Be careful with those options tomorrow, but watch TMO. Depending on how that trades, that could be very, very interesting, and maybe it could have a continuation. It moved very, very weird, so we'll see. So watch them. Watch Wells Fargo. We put out the news on Stream Alerts when they said they're looking to lower their reserves. Same news as Goldman and JP this morning, but they announced that on the call. They were barely up on the day, and then they shot up, but this would have been a crazy weekly play. So watch for some frogs on that one coming into Friday, but watch them. Watch Snapchat. Watch HD. They were actually green. They're falling a little bit after hours, but they were one of very few companies that ended up closing green. You pull them up on the daily. Remember, we did take some profits on that position. I got a couple free, but other than that, they've been killing it. So pay attention to the names that actually did good today. And another one of those names is Walgreens, and watch this one tomorrow, because depending on Rite Aid's earnings, this one could have a sympathy play. We saw that in the past, but you've seen Walgreens get a lot more strength, so keep an eye on them. Watch Roblox. A lot of our gains were given back today. It's back down to 75, but I really, really like this. This might give us a second chance. It might have another wave down, and then the next wave up goes, but hard to say. Still love this company. If it goes below 75, I have a target price that I'm looking at to still add more of that 50,000 I have allocated towards it. So we will see what happens, but watch them. Watch Mara and Bitcoin. I really want to see how they play out today just because of how they performed this morning. I want to see if this continues. So if they keep selling off tomorrow, or depending on if Coinbase does good, you really want to see if they catch the steam or not, or how they're related, or are they more related to the price of Bitcoin as opposed to a Bitcoin exchange like some of the other sympathy plays that we've made. So finally, watch VMware. I really like them. Dell announced that they're going to be spinning off their business that they own. Dell owns part of them. So had a nice little pop. VMware has the ability to move a lot. We've seen it move a lot. So this might be an interesting one. I think it might still be kind of a value play when you look at it here. So I don't know if that's because the buyout or the Dell stake, but we will find out, so I hope you're ready. And finally, the good old TLT, ladies and gentlemen, it did nothing today. It's been chilling out. The theory in line with kind of not moving with earnings is looking good. It's still a risk if it goes up or if TLT drops and bond yields go higher, but the key is the dollar. So the dollar's not showing anything upsetting. Bonds aren't moving. If anything, it's giving the opportunity for the dollar to catch up, so we will see. But if the banks haven't upset anything, that's good. Powell hasn't upset anything. If anything, Powell was still bullish again. I think how we finish these earnings, along with anything else not getting blown out of the water, we should be pretty chill, but we will see what happens. Otherwise, if you do see a big move, then the dollar and or TLT, especially TLT, would probably be snitching at this point, so it would be good for you, I guess, at that point. But either way, the market wants guidance. That's the new piece of information, and that is going to be the key moving forward, so I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to remember, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. But Nicole loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.